Hey there, how's it going, everybody? Today is my skill day training vlog. Um, I'm thinking about changing the name from montage to log. Let me know how you guys feel about that. My thought process is just that especially with my videos getting longer, where I'm taking things slower and really focusing more on techniques. When I say montage, I almost feel like that is like like a lot faster. It's like a compilation of shorter clips, that go by very fast. And when I first started making these videos, that was what I had in mind. But as I, started producing the videos, it kind of turned into something a little different. So I think I may start changing the name of these to training logs instead of training montages, but let me know how you feel about that. Today it is almost feels like a summer day, at least compared to what we have had here in Eastern Kentucky. It's about mid 40s Fahrenheit, maybe around 5 degrees Celsius. It's still pretty cool, but compared to like negative temperatures like we have had, at least in Celsius, and low single-digit temperatures in Fahrenheit, it feels pretty warm. So it was actually a pretty nice day. It wasn't raining. We actually did get some snowfall towards the end of my workout, but it was very pretty. It wasn't messy. It was these big, solid flakes that weren't wet, and it was just really beautiful scenery. It wasn't anything that made the workout not as nice. So, like I was saying, today is kind of a longer video. It's skill day, and then on top of that, I'm taking things slower. My goal with these videos, one is this is kind of my way to keep track of my own progress and critique myself. One of the most useful things that anybody can do is to to video their sets, and then you can kind of spot yourself. So this is just kind of me doing that, and then along with that, I kind of do the voiceover and things, and ideally I'll be helping somebody. Hopefully people can watch that and can learn something. Perhaps somebody that knows more about something than I do could even watch it, and might have a few pointers for myself. But at the end of the day, I just like to share what I do. I'm trying to help myself, but ideally I'll be helping others as well. Taking things slower, really focusing on techniques, like I was saying, and I think just one of the short, simple tips, short and sweet tip I could give anyone about form is posture. I use AI a lot in my everyday life, and one of the things that AI has mentioned to me as far as terminology goes is the terminology long necking. And I think what is referring to is like when you try to stick out your neck, when you try to extend your neck. If you think of how a turtle, sticks its head out of its shell, obviously humans don't have shells, but we can still extend our necks. And when we do so, try it in your chair right now. If you kind of slouch down, but then try to extend your neck, you will feel your scapulas going down. And this is just a quick and easy, calisthenics secret of how to maintain good posture no matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're doing a push exercise, a pull exercise, even like an inverted handstand position. You should always be trying to do long necking. to be trying to stick your neck out as long as you can. And when you do so, like I was saying, that locks your scapulas in the correct position where they're protected. Where instead of the passive tissues like the ligaments and cartilages holding the opposing force, and instead of that happening, we're kind of forcing the muscles, the things that we want to bear the load. We're forcing those, to bear the load, and that greatly helps protect you, greatly decreases your chances of injuries. It's just kind of a quick, mental hack. It's the cheat code to having proper posture, proper form when you do techniques. And another thing with that, and something I've really been doing lately, along with sticking my neck out and maintaining proper posture, is to decrease the resistance, to decrease the intensity of various skills. And I get more impressed every time I go outside and try these things that are easier, because it really, really allows you to ensure that you have proper technique. There's an exercise I hit towards the end of the video today. When I first hit it, I was mind blown. I was like, wow, this is how this should feel like. How have I been doing this, for all these years? And I just now realized that. And I can answer that question now. It's because it's the first time I've ever taken my time and went slow. And it's the first time I've ever done it, with a band, which took off a lot of the load and really allowed me to, to think about what I'm doing. So that's a great tool to have, or a great skill is to utilize, is decreasing the difficulty of skills, to focus on the technique, and always making sure you have proper posture. I mean, even sitting in a chair, if I start to kind of shrug my shoulder up, that causes some irritation. Just about something very minor. But if I long neck, if I extend my neck and I feel my scapulas go down, the irritation goes away. Another thing I wanted to mention today is I'm getting back into some more shadow boxing. And like I said in some previous videos, it's really good for getting you in the mood, to do something physically intensive, gets your fight or flight response going. But something I kind of realized today, because I typically do my shadow boxing before I do the 6-rep warm-up. When you're doing the shadow boxing, you're tucking your chin, keeping your hands up, you're in a fighting stance. And I've noticed, particularly today, and the experiencing it today made me think of my past as well, before knee surgery. When I do the shadow boxing and then do the 6-rep warm-up, the shadow boxing stance kind of bleeds over into the stance I have when I do the 6-rep warm-up, and that kind of causes me to not long neck, and it causes me to have bad posture when I'm trying to put a load on the shoulder muscles. And thankfully it's just with very minor resistance, with just that small band I use for warm-ups, but that allowed me to recognize something I need to stop doing. It's okay to have a certain kind of posture when you're in a fighting stance, but you need to draw the line there and not let that bleed over into more calisthenics focused things, because that is something completely different. Anyways, I was doing a little bit of one-arm training there. Still taking it pretty easy on the one-arm pull-up, but remember when I hit those there, because that same technique that I used for those band pulls and those leg assisted one-arm pull-ups, it bleeds over in a good way to the skill that I try at the end of this video today. But I'll talk more about that later. Here's a handstand press. I love handstand presses. It's kind of losing my balance, or was having a little trouble maintaining balance. And something I recognized today about myself, at least here, in the past couple weeks, I think I've been kind of getting a bit lazy on my handstand form. When we do handstands, we think about pushing ourselves it's all like in our mind we think it's all shoulders and arms, but really a handstand is a full body exercise. And if you're struggling to get a handstand, one of the most helpful things you can do, wow, look at that planche. My planche has really leveled up as well, but one of the most helpful things that you can do and in order to progress in your handstand training is recognizing that it's more than just your shoulders and arms. You have to flex your core. Like you have to put on the built-in weight belt, so to say, which is your core muscles. Just think about, when you cook a spaghetti noodle, before you cook the spaghetti noodle, it's very stiff and it's easy to stand it straight up. But when you cook the spaghetti noodle and it gets soft, you can't hold the spaghetti noodle straight up anymore, because it bends over. And it's the same concept in a handstand. If your body is not rigid, if you don't have your core, even your leg muscles flexed, it makes it so much more difficult to try and balance. So that's something, that myself needs to recognize as well, even though it's something I already know. It's just, when we do things over time, we kind of get lazy, and sometimes we have to catch ourselves in some things and bring things back into main view. Here's some human flag training. I think I hit 3 sets on this today, and I'll use the excuse that each of the sets are very low fatigue, so I didn't feel too bad about doing more than 2 attempts. I think on this second attempt here, I recognized that I need to try and shorten the lever by bringing my body closer to the center of gravity, just by bending at the hip more and bringing my legs in more. And that definitely makes it easier, but I still struggle a lot with that vertical grip. So I went to the horizontal grip for the 45-degree flag attempts. Just getting a little bit of time under tension here. This is something I hit pretty hard on core day, so I didn't really want to hit it too hard today on skill day. Just kind of dust the cobwebs off a little bit, but then put it back in the box, and we'll work it more next time. Alrighty, so here is something big I've really been working hard on, and I still have some progress to go, but I'm getting really close. And that's the slow ring muscle up. Oh, I'm just right there. I'm just so close to that. Once you get through that transition, if I could get up even 1 inch higher, I would probably have it. That transition is by far the most difficult part of that skill. Once you get your forearms up above parallel, you're pretty much there. That's the most difficult part, and then it's just a dip. It's just a ring dip at that point. But here's the building block for that skill that I've been training. That's with the assistance band. I'm trying to make it easy so that I can really focus on the technique. And the resistance band has been kind of getting in the way a little bit of the rings. So I think on future attempts of this, I'm going to try looping the band under my butt and then holding the other ends of the band in my hands on the rings. That will prevent the band from getting, see there, that will prevent the band from from getting in the way of the path that the rings are traveling. So I'm chalked up. Anytime you see me chalk up, you know I'm trying to give a serious attempt on something. Here is I think I was trying a half lay front lever, which is like a very extended tucked. Your thighs would be parallel to your torso. And I was not quite able to do that, but I was able to do the advanced tucked there. So I decided on my second attempt I would add a resistance band to help. And this is something I have tried and failed several times before. But today I at least got the band connected to my body correctly for this skill training. I might have hit a full front lever for just a sec there, but then I felt a lot more comfortable just going to the tucked position. I felt very strong here, very comfortable. In fact, I held this in my head. It felt like 30 seconds. Now, in reality, I don't know how close I got to 30 seconds, but I definitely felt like I owned that position. So that was great to experience. Here is my big thing today. This is what my highlight clip is about. I think today I can confidently say I hit a full back lever. Not only did I hit it, but I held it for a few seconds as well. So this is a nice big check off of the list. My torso is perfectly parallel to the ground, legs fully extended, and that was probably a good 1 to 3 second hold. So I feel pretty confident in saying that I can do a full back lever now. You just have to really like it'll feel like you're further down than you are, and you just have to really hang on to that position and get low with it. Here I can really see what I was talking about earlier with how I'm kind of relaxing my core with handstands. You'll see when I kick up in these positions how if you traced from my hands to my feet, I would kind of be shaped like a banana. And that is not ideal. That's not how you want to look when you do a handstand. You want that line to be perfectly straight, if at all possible. If there's a little bit of bend to it, that's fine, like right there. But you don't want to look like a banana like I did there. You'll notice I looked like that and then I lost it. So I really need to work on keeping my core tight when I'm kicked up in an inverted position like that. Here is that skill I was talking about earlier when I was doing the one arm training. And this is archer pull-ups with band assistance. This is something I've done a lot before, but I've never done it this slow and controlled. I've always done it explosively. And when you do something explosively, that has benefits for strength training, but that has the negative effect of you oftentimes overlook the technique. So you should never do anything explosive unless you're super confident in your technique on that skill or that working set. So I really slowed things down today. I used the band to take off some of the load, and I was mind blown here because when I start this position, it feels almost identical to when I do those one arm band pulls or to when I do those one arm leg assisted pull-ups. They're like when I first get started training, I'm squatted down underneath that low bar and I'm kind of leg assisting myself on the one arm pull-ups. it feels virtually identical. Like I'm hanging with both arms on the rings, and then I start the movement by leading with that dominant scapula. Like that scapula is what moves first, and then I really start bending at the elbow. And like I was saying, it feels identical to that technique I've been practicing for one-arm pull-ups. And I really, really love this. This is definitely something I'm going to keep working. Everything felt great. Even the shoulder that's been giving me so many problems, felt great. As a matter of fact, that shoulder may have actually outperformed, the other shoulder on that exercise. But technique is everything when you do stuff like this. Technique is the difference between breaking yourself down or building yourself up in the long run. And at first glance, it may feel like you're doing something that's so much easier. There's no way you're going to get stronger from it. There's no way you're going to get better from it. And that's completely wrong, at least in my experience. I feel like I've progressed more in my past, 2 or 3 months of training than I've progressed in my 15 years of training. And I feel like that really says something. When you go slow, you use appropriate level, difficulty, appropriate level resistance, and just really focus on those techniques. That carries over, like that pretty much directly carries us straight over to increased performance on so many different things in calisthenics. So coming up on the end of things here, I know this was a longer video, but I think, like I was saying, these are going to be logs. I just want to take it slow, because that's how I'm doing my training. But I also want to take these videos slower so people that are, maybe new to calisthenics or are trying to see how to do, different skills or how to do different working sets, will be able to, learn a lot more from my clips than just a quick, like 8-second, montage clip, like a very short, fast-paced clip. So ideally, these longer clips, they take a bit more time to watch, but hopefully they will, those that are trying to learn for themselves, will be able to get something more from it. I was holding my hands out there because, look at this beautiful gift that Mother Nature has gave me at the end of my workout. It was so pretty out. This snowfall had just started, right at the end. And like I was saying, it wasn't a wet snow. Like, it was very dry. And it was just very beautiful. The flakes were very large. And, given how the surrounding mountains looked and everything, it was just so gorgeous out. And it wasn't super cold, so it didn't feel, if you're bundled up appropriately, it didn't feel bad to be out in. I actually show a clip here at the end, a pan around, after I walk off the camera here, after I say goodbyes. It's just very, very pretty, and I figured I would share that. But like it says on the screen there, thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Enjoy this clip of Eastern Kentucky mountains, heart of Appalachia, and have a nice day. Happy training. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.